name is Markus Hilgert. I'm the current director of the Ancient Near East Museum at the Pergamon Museum of the Prussian Cultural Heritage Foundation. Originally, I'm an expert for ancient Near Eastern studies, and more recently, I've started to work in cultural heritage protection and cultural heritage protection research, because the Ancient Near East Museum is not just a museum, but also a core facility for cultural heritage protection. I think we have two very distinct roles. One, of course, is that we are showcases for cultural diversity. When you direct an archaeological museum with objects from more than 5,000 years, it's clear that one of the messages is cultural diversity. And I think it's very important to raise awareness of cultural diversity and inclusion, and at the same time raise awareness of the fact that these objects are cultural heritage for many people and that we need to do something to protect them. And the second function of museums is that they're expert institutions. They have lots of knowledge and expertise, and they can use this expertise to protect heritage and to build capacity. Well, in Germany right now, on the national level, we're doing different things. As you may know, in 2016, the national law was reformed, that there is a new law in place now that has an emphasis on import controls for archaeological objects, for protected objects. Basically, it says that when an object is illegally exported from its country of origin, it cannot be legally imported into Germany. This is very important to have a strong legal framework on a national level. At the same time, Germany is very active in the area of capacity building. For example, the German Federal Foreign Office is financing a lot of programs with countries that need capacity building, and German institutions like the Prussian Cultural Heritage Foundation are doing research, for example, on the question how the illicit traffic in cultural objects is working. I think it's starting to get better, the international cooperation. We've had landmark decisions of courts, of the International Criminal Court, for example, but we've also had landmark resolutions of the Security Council. When you think of the latest Security Council resolution 2347 that focuses almost exclusively on illicit trafficking in cultural property, you'll understand that there is a heightened attention for this problem and for this issue. So I think the framework is prepared, but at the same time we need more concrete cooperation, we need more exchange of data, we need more exchange of experience, and we also need to build capacity on various levels. I think, first of all, it's important to make people understand what cultural heritage means for the people and the communities who live with cultural heritage. And this is something that you and I can experience when we go through Berlin, for example, because we live with a lot of buildings and monuments that are very important to us, and if they were lost, we'd probably be very sad. And I think this is very important to understand what it means for our lives and our identities to have cultural heritage and to live with it. And once you're able to get that message across, if you use social media, if you, for example, you join the Unite for Heritage campaign of UNESCO, I think you have very, very strong instruments to raise awareness, but we probably also should go one step further and start with awareness-raising programs in airports, for example. The same thing we're doing for protected animal species, we could also do for cultural heritage. Nobody could act as a safe haven unless the country of origin requests that institution to be a safe haven or a temporary refuge. I don't think museums, for example, can declare themselves safe havens, because that's not what you do according to international law. I think the protection of cultural heritage is in the sovereignty of the state in whose territory this cultural heritage exists or originates from. So I think it's important to make that the first important steps. If a country, if a community requests refuge abroad, then of course this is something you can think about. But I think what we need to try to do is to increase capacities within the countries so that the refuges, that the safe havens exists within the country and not outside of the country. As you know, in many cases, these objects do not come from museums necessarily, but they come from archaeological sites. So you need experts, you need archaeologists, you need Assyriologists like myself in the case of Iraq and Syria, who are able to look at these objects and say, I know this object has to come from Syria or Iraq because this kind of object only originates from this country. So it's very important to promote and foster the academic expertise that is necessary to identify the objects say if it's authentic or not, and then to say where the object comes from. And we have to make sure that this expertise is also available to law enforcement and customs authorities, because they're the ones who actually need to grab the objects, and eventually states need to return them to the country of origin. But the key here is to have academics, to have the knowledge and the research capacity to identify the objects.